And finally, new rule: before they can take on Donald Trump, Democrats have to decide which wing of their own party is best to lead them out of the wilderness. And when I say that, I'm sure you can all guess what recent incident in the news I'm thinking about. The season 8 finale of Love is Blind. Now, if you didn't see it, well, first of all, fuck you. It's absolutely the best dating show with love and blind in the title. But here's what happened. The bride, an impressive, attractive nurse named Sarah Carton, walked out on her dream wedding to sales consultant Ben Mazenga. They were at the altar, all dressed up, almost to the part where they eat cake and do the electric slide. When Sarah broke the news to her man that she just couldn't go through with it. Had he cheated on her? Abused her? Was he a folk-singing Irish vampire? No, it was because of Black Lives Matter. Because if there's one thing we know about the young liberal women of today, it's that they are very, very high in their standards about everything. And Ben, while no racist, had not done the work on this issue.
The woke ultimatum. Why Bill Maher is right about the left's purity problem. When a liberal like Bill Maher starts sounding like a conservative, you know the Democrats have lost their minds. Today, we expose the woke ultimatum destroying America. You reject your soulmate over their views on BLM. The left would. Today, we reveal how progressive purity tests are killing love and destroying politics. The Democrats' road to defeat is paved with woke intentions. Today, we break down Bill Maher's brutal takedown of liberal elitism and why it matters. Modern feminism demands men be both traditional providers and woke activists. Today we expose the impossible standards killing relationships in America. They call us intolerant, but the left can't even tolerate people who have no opinion at all. Today we analyze the cancel culture that's consuming the Democratic Party.
When I asked him about it, he was like, I guess I've never really thought too much about it.
And that's when Sarah realized she'd rather die alone. Because love isn't blind, it's woke. Well, now, to be fair to Sarah, it wasn't just Black Lives Matter. Ben also didn't have much to say about the vaccine. And his position on trans was basically, I don't know, I guess. Sarah's sister is gay. And when she told that to Ben, Ben said he had, quote, no discomfort around that community at all. Not good enough, Ben! I think what you meant to say is, fuck yeah, I fucking love it. Let me tell you, folks, if the standards on the left are going to be this high and politics is going to be this much of a cock block, we're never going to win elections or have any more babies.
Maher took aim at the woke left's endless purity tests and their insatiable appetite for ideological conformity. And let me tell you, folks, when a liberal like Maher starts calling out his own side for going off the deep end, we should all pay attention. Today, we're going to dive into this culture of liberal ultimatums. That's not just poisoning our politics, but destroying normal human relationships. We'll explore how the Democrats' obsession with performative wokeness is alienating regular Americans and setting themselves up for another crushing defeat in the upcoming elections. So grab your coffee, turn up the volume, and let's cut through the liberal nonsense together. This is Black Coffee. Unfiltered truth for patriots who still believe in common sense.
This inclination from certain liberals to always and immediately excommunicate instead of communicate is what makes them so unlikable. And I'm sorry, Sarah, to make you the poster child for this, but come on. I mean, look at this stiff. What'd you expect? Okay, you're a much better person than he is. You win. And by win, I mean lose. Christ, first we couldn't date people who had opposite political beliefs. Now we can't even date them if they have no opinion at all. It's enough to make you lose faith in finding true love on a reality streaming series. Because if you're going to eliminate every 20-something who hasn't thought a lot about politics, you're going to be working from a smaller pool than roadies with no leg tattoos. And let's be clear, Ben didn't say, you know, I have thought about Black Lives Matter and I'm with Derek Chauvin. No. He said, I'm young and dumb and full of fantasy football stats. Could we just talk about it? I'm sorry, I'm not up to the part of my life yet where I give a shit about the issues. Should he? Of course. We all should do a lot of things. I should meditate and finish Moby Dick and learn to get to sleep without a gummy.
Let's start with the story that prompted Maher's epic takedown. On the reality show Love is Blind, a bride named Sarah walked away from her wedding because her fiancé Ben hadn't done the work on issues like Black Lives Matter. She literally left him at the altar, not because he was a bad person or because he disagreed with her, but because he simply hadn't formed strong enough opinions about progressive political causes. Now, let's be clear about what happened here. This man wasn't a racist. He didn't oppose gay rights. He just hadn't devoted his life to the latest progressive orthodoxies. His crime? Saying things like, I guess I've never really thought too much about it, when asked about BLM, or stating he had no discomfort around the gay community at all when discussing his fiance's gay sister. In what world is this grounds for rejecting someone you supposedly love enough to marry? Only in the deranged universe of modern progressive politics, where virtue signaling has replaced actual human connection. Think about what this represents. The left has created a culture where not being sufficiently passionate about their causes is seen as a moral failing worthy of complete rejection. It's not enough to be tolerant. You must actively celebrate and champion every aspect of the progressive agenda, or you're cast out as an unworthy human being. This is the bizarre reality of modern leftism.
But maybe Ben hasn't turned his life over to being a social justice warrior yet because he's preoccupied with trying to get his life going. Possibly because he's worried about having the means to support the woman he thought he was going to marry, who seems rather demanding and particular. Which is kind of how it is these days. Did you know that on Bumble, only 15% of the women are willing to date a man under 5'8"? Wow. Women, they're like roller coasters now. You must be this tall to ride them. And that's not all. The guy must also have a nice car and make over $100K a year. Okay, but you know, how many 6'2" Grand Prix drivers are there? I know you've all been told that you can have it all, and you're a queen and a lady boss and that bitch. But maybe your judgy ass is no prize either. And if you...
A movement that claims to champion inclusivity while constantly finding new reasons to exclude people from their circle of moral acceptability. Let's zoom out and look at what this mentality is doing to the Democratic Party as a whole. The woke left has created a system where Democrats are essentially playing political limbo, constantly asking, how low can you go to accommodate every new progressive demand, no matter how extreme or disconnected from everyday Americans?
And if you jilt a guy for not thinking enough about Black Lives Matter, just tell me this. What have you actually done that made any more of a difference in any black life than what your inadequate ex-fiancé did? I asked Senator Adam Schiff here last week when the subject of Trump's sliding poll numbers came up. Okay, but how are the Democrats going to blow it this time? This is how. Posturing, purity tests, the politics of I unfriend you if you're not exactly with me 1,000%. Barack Obama used to preach that the perfect is the enemy of the good. Yeah, it's also the enemy of getting laid.
While most Americans are worried about putting food on the table, affording health care, or ensuring their kids get a decent education, the Democratic elite are obsessed with pronouns, microaggressions, and whether you've properly checked your privilege today. This is why Democrats continually find ways to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. They've created a party culture where ideological purity trumps pragmatic politics, where winning elections takes a back seat to winning Twitter arguments, where connecting with voters matters less than collecting the right collection of progressive merit badges. Look at how they treated Joe Manchin, a Democrat who actually understood his constituents in West Virginia. Instead of recognizing that having a moderate Democrat who could win in a red state was valuable, they vilified him for not being progressive enough. The result, they lost that seat, and with it, their Senate majority. This is the same mentality. We see in that love is blind example an absolute unwillingness to accept anything less than total ideological compliance. And mainstream Americans are noticing. They see this elitism, this smugness, this constant judgment, and they rightly reject it. Now, what really made Maher's monologue sing was when he addressed the elephant in the room. The contradictions of modern feminism. This is something conservatives have been pointing out for years, but coming from Maher, it clearly resonated even with his liberal audience. He highlighted how today's progressive women often hold men to impossible standards, demanding partners, who are both sensitive male feminists and traditional providers who make six figures and stand over 6 feet tall. As Maher put it, maybe your judgy ass is no prize either. The audience went wild at that line because deep down people know it's true. There's a fundamental hypocrisy in demanding that society dismantle traditional gender expectations for women while simultaneously doubling down on traditional expectations for men. This is the unspoken truth of modern dating culture. Women are told they can have it all and should never settle, while men are expected to be both traditionally masculine providers and enlightened progressive allies who champion every woke cause. Is it any wonder marriage rates are plummeting? Is it surprising that birth rates are at historic lows? The left has created a culture where finding a compatible partner is nearly impossible because the list of requirements has grown to absurd proportions. And here's the kicker. While these woke women are rejecting potential partners for not being sufficiently progressive, what are they actually doing to advance the causes they claim to care about? As Maher rightly asked, what has someone like Sarah actually done that made more of a difference in black lives than her inadequate fiance? The truth is, most of this is performative virtue signaling, not genuine activism. It's about looking good to your progressive friends, not actually changing the world. This brings us to the broader issue of cancel culture and the left's preference for excommunication over communication. As Maher put it, the modern left doesn't want dialogue. They don't want to persuade people or change minds. They want to identify heretics and burn them at the stake. They want to draw ever smaller circles of acceptability and then proudly stand inside them, looking down on everyone else. But politics is about coalition building. It's about finding common ground with people who might not agree with you on everything. The Democrats have forgotten this fundamental truth, and it's why they continue to lose elections they should win. Look at how they treat moderates or independents who express even mild skepticism about any aspect of progressive orthodoxy. Immediately labeled bigots, transphobes, or white supremacists. This is not how you build a winning political coalition. Republicans understand this better. We don't demand ideological purity on every issue. We recognize that someone who agrees with us on taxes but disagrees on abortion can still be a valuable ally. We understand that politics requires compromise and cooperation. The left, meanwhile, would rather lose elections than tolerate even minor deviations from the approved script. They'd rather feel morally superior in defeat than make the compromises necessary for victory. And the irony is, this approach doesn't even advance their stated goals. If you actually care about climate change or healthcare access or economic inequality, surely winning elections so you can implement policies is more important than maintaining ideological purity. But that's not how the woke mind works. For them, the performance of virtue is more important than actual results. So where do we go from here? How do we restore sanity to our politics and our culture? First, we need to reclaim the value of intellectual humility. It should be perfectly acceptable to say, I don't know enough about that issue to have a strong opinion. We should encourage people to learn and grow rather than demanding they arrive with perfectly formed progressive views on every topic. Second, we need to separate politics from personal worth. Someone can be a good person, a good friend, a good partner without sharing your political views. The left's insistence on evaluating human worth through a political lens is destructive and divisive. Third, we need to rebuild a culture of tolerance. Real tolerance, not the twisted version the left promotes. True tolerance means accepting that others have different views and still treating them with respect and dignity. Fourth, we need to call out performative activism for what it is. Shallow virtue signaling that accomplishes nothing of substance. If you truly care about social justice, your focus should be on actions that actually improve lives, not on social media posts or demanding ideological conformity from your friends and partners. Finally, we need to embrace what unites us as Americans, rather than obsessing over our differences. The left wants us divided into ever smaller identity groups. We need to reject this and remember that we are all Americans first, with shared values and shared destinies. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with this thought. When Bill Maher, a lifelong liberal, starts sounding like a conservative because he's simply stating common sense, you know the left has gone too far. The woke mind virus is destroying the Democratic Party from within. It's alienating potential allies, fracturing coalitions, and making compromise impossible. And while this might seem like good news for Republicans politically, it's bad news for America. We need a healthy opposition party. We need Democrats who are grounded in reality, not floating off into woke fantasy land. We need political opponents who want to debate policy differences, not demonize half the country as irredeemable bigots. So, while I thoroughly enjoyed Maher's takedown of woke culture, I also hope it serves as a wake-up call to reasonable Democrats, that they need to reclaim their party from the extremists. Until next time, this is Black Coffee, where the truth is always served strong and black, just like our coffee. Keep thinking freely, patriots. Don't let the woke mob tell you what to believe.